welcome to class. If everybody's set, please raise your hand and we'll get the class started. All right. So this is going to cover week 3 assignments, both the discussion and the readings as well as the paper. And it's also going to discuss some of the techniques for using the online library, because it appears that everybody has kind of a different skill level and comfort level about searching through the library for finding the literature. But here we have a little start. A student working on their dissertation. Professor says, I made a few tweaks to the draft paper you sent me. Poor student looks down at it. You rewrote the entire thing. Yes, it's easier for me to rewrite it than to point out all the things you do wrong. I call it learning by demonstration. Well, what are we demonstrating? That you're a bad writer. Well, we don't want to be in that situation when it's time to write the dissertation. What we want to do is learn how to be a good writer. So we have lessons and assignments. This week we're going to have some readings that will help you develop your thinking about writing and seeing how a proper structure is developed and how critical thinking begins to form the basis of your ideas. And in the discussion, we're going to be looking at reviewing a paper using a peer-reviewed checklist that you'll find in the week 3 readings. It'll be called a peer review checklist, and you can download that and use that to guide your review of the paper called Theory of Human Motivation, which you'll also find in the week 3 readings. Now, I only want you to work on questions 1 through 5. Okay, the checklist goes on quite a long ways, but we haven't really covered the other things that are on the checklist, so you would just kind of be using your own opinion. So just turn in questions 1 through 5 on the checklist, fill those out, and then you're going to copy and paste your completed checklist, questions 1 through 5, into the week 3 discussion. So you'll be able to not only use your own evaluative and assessment criteria, but you'll be able to see how other students evaluate the papers also. So we'll be looking at the same thing and discussing that. It actually looks like it's going to be a lot of work, but again, you're only working with the first 5 questions. So here's what the first 5 questions look like. You want to put your name down. In this particular case, the paper is from an anonymous student, and you know what the title of the paper is. But we'll be using the same process when we review each other's work in upcoming weeks. So one of the things you want to be looking for is the thesis. You're going to try to understand what the purpose of the paper is, that the writer tells you. You're going to be evaluating how well they did their introduction, how well the introduction fit the rest of the paper, how well the introduction and the conclusion form like bookends to the argument in the paper, and then how the paper was developed. Was it logically structured? Did it have sections with headings that indicated what the different parts of the paper were? Okay, so this is what you're going to be using. And then the week 3 writing assignment includes a couple more readings from the week 3 folder and start here. You're going to be looking at the paper, instructional paper called Thesis Statements, and then also introductions from the Writing Center. Okay, you're going to also find those. And by the titles, you might actually think it would be a good idea to read those before doing your checklist. Okay, that's just a hint. And now for the week 3 writing assignment, you're not going to be rewriting your whole paper, but you are going to be, now that you know a little bit more about introductions and thesis statements and conclusions, I want you to go back and revise your introduction, your thesis statement, your conclusion based upon what we've learned this week in terms of our instructions. Okay, so I want everybody to do it, even though you think I couldn't do it any better than I did it the first time. Yes, there's always ways to improve. So try to do a little better. Try to rethink it in light of what you wrote your paper on. Okay, so those are the assignments. Discussion, which is using the checklist to critique the paper, and then modifying, revising your week 2 paper with the instructions found in the readings for this week. So What I want to talk about now is using the library to find literature, because as we progress through the class, we're going to continue writing, but we're also going to be adding more research to our writing. We're going to, by the end of the class, develop a literature review on human motivation. So developing your library research skills is another important technique that you need. So first thing you do is when you go into the library, now you've signed in, and you go and choose the database. Um, Generally, we're going to be using the EBSCOhost database, although sometimes you can use the ProQuest database and you can use other databases. But for most of the material in this class, you use the EBSCOhost database. The required readings I've pulled from there. But sometimes you'll use the ProQuest if you want to look at what dissertations look like. You can go in there, and that's where all our dissertations are stored, published in ProQuest once they've been accepted and approved. And then when you choose the ProQuest, or the EBSCOhost database, excuse me, um, you nearly always want to check the box that says select, because that means all the different fields and journals that are covered within the EBSCOhost database, you're going to have access to all of them, rather than trying to select, well, I think it's going to be in this database, the article that I'm looking for. So this will cover psychology, and this will cover business, and this will cover organizational behavior. So, if you're just looking for something, you want to choose from a wide variety of things rather than a very narrow focus. So check that box, and then press the button continue. And now we're going to be using the technique of searching for a particular title. So again, suppose I told you I want you to read the article, An Evolutionary Theory of Human Motivation. So we're going specifically for one particular article with that particular title. So you type it into the search field, and then you push search. But you also want to indicate that you're looking for full text, meaning that you'll actually be able to get to the entire article and not the abstract. And you also want to check peer reviewed, okay, so that you're not going to be pulling things up out of non-scholarly journals. Okay, so that's going to limit some of the things that you might pull up. Because remember, when the search engine starts out, it's going to pull things that may have to do with evolutionary theory or human motivation. It's not going to just pull things with this particular title. So with that title in our search parameter, we got a series of articles with different aspects. We got one that's the strategic reaction to infants, female set presentation in a romantic context. We also got human social motivation and evolutionary perspective. So you can see these are somewhat related, but we got the one we were looking for, which was an evolutionary theory of human motivation. And you can see also it is from an academic journal, and it does have a accessible PDF file, so we can get to the full text. All important things. So we're going to click on PDF full text to get here so we can download it. So it loads it into the library format for us for your computer, but what you really want to do is you want to right click on the text. So put your cursor on the text and right click, and then it'll say save as. So then you save as and put it in a folder in your on your computer so you can read it later. I would suggest labeling the folders so that you know where different things are going. You might save week 3 paper readings and then put it in there with other things that are related to your week 3 readings. Okay, so that's the way you save it. You identify it, find it in the library, make sure it has a full text PDF file or HTML file that you can get to so you get the whole article. And then when it's available on the screen, you can right click if it's a PDF and do a save as into your folder. But there are other ways to access information also, even if you don't know what the title is and you're doing a general search on a specific topic that you're interested in. Now this particular example that I have here is from another class, so it's going to look a little bit odd. It doesn't have to do with human motivation. It has to do with scientific management. But it's an example of how you can use the searching techniques in different ways. Okay, So I found an article already. It's called A Review and Critical Analysis of the Principles of Scientific Management. Now, based upon that, I can download that particular article and look at it, but I can also find things that are related to it. So I can click on the name of the source, the journal that it came out of, and I can click on that, and that'll bring me to the information about that particular journal. And you can see that, yes, it is peer-reviewed. And on the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that there's a series of dates there. And so what that's indicating is this particular journal, the complete journal, is available for all those years, which means that you're not just limited to searching for individual articles. You can actually choose that year's journal, and you can pick the particular issue, the volume that you want, and see all the articles that were published in that journal in the winter 2014 issue. Okay. So rather than simply searching for individual items, many times going to a journal that publishes the type of articles, the type of information that you're interested in, will bring up things that wouldn't show up with a regular search. Okay? So there are many, many different ways to search, and students sometimes get frustrated because they think there's nothing in the library related to their topic, and the problem is they're not searching the right way. There may be alternative keywords that you could use. There may be alternative journals that you could be referencing. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, and in addition to learning how to write, learning how to do effective researching in the library is going to be another critical skill to develop. So I'm not going to be able to cover every possible thing in this presentation, but the idea is there are different ways to do it. And as I said, another way to do it is to go for keywords. Many of the articles, more modern articles, will have keywords because they know it's going to be an electronic form, and they know supplying another associated term will again get you into a whole series of other articles. Okay, so I clicked on the keyword Taylor, and now it brought up other articles that weren't showing up under the different types of searches, and then also show up in different orders based upon how often that keyword is identified within the articles. Okay. So again, just to reinforce, simply saying I could only find 4 articles on human motivation is not going to fly very well, because there are thousands, in fact millions of articles on human motivation published. So that's not being able to find them is not an excuse. It means that you need to improve your methods. And if you're having trouble, you can talk to me about it, or you can talk to the Kaiser Online Librarian. They have different methods. There are videos and tutorials available on using the library, so we want to help you get over this kind of hurdle also. One other final technique that I want to talk about is using Google Scholar, or scholar.google.com. That's how you get to it. And although a lot of times people say, well, you don't go to Google for scholarly literature, actually scholar.google.com will bring you into scholarly literature. And it's fairly easy to use. You simply, I would suggest putting this as a quick link on your computer so you can jump into Google Scholar, maybe as your first way to start looking for literature. That's often how I do it. I start there, and then I go to the library. I may have 2 browsers open, one for Google Scholar and one for the Kaiser Library, so I can copy and paste things that I find on Google Scholar into the search engine in the library to see if it's available there. Okay, so you type in human motivation in Google Scholar, and you click on the search button, and we get results just like we do in the library. Here we have a series of articles that are published in different journals, and again you can select ones that are going to be peer-reviewed. Okay, so in this case we actually got an article from the week 3 assigned readings, A Theory of Human Motivation. Now if you click on the title, you're going to simply get to the abstract and the list of the journal that it came out of. However, if you click on the link on the right-hand side of the screen, the PDF academia.edu link, you'll actually get to the original paper that Maslow wrote. Theory of Human Motivation. Okay, so you get to the entire article. It's in a form that then can be downloaded to your computer. Okay, so it just shows you that there's another way to access information that, you know, is I find a very useful one. In addition, you can also use Google Scholar for getting your APA citation. So for example, if I was going to use a theory of human motivation by Maslow in my paper, and you are going to have to do it, so you might as well know how to get the citation. What you do then is you click on Cite. Okay, every article that's in Google Scholar will have a link to Cite, and if you click on Cite, you're going to get several different formats for reference. So you can see here there's a MLA format, there's an APA format, there's a Chicago format, there's a Harvard format, and of course, since we're using APA, you would simply copy and paste the citation here, which is going to go on your reference list, okay, into your reference list for your paper. There you don't have to worry about, is it a comma or is it a period? Is it an italicized or is it not? Is it within parentheses or not? It's got everything you need to reference this particular article for your paper. Okay, well, that's about enough for this class. Keys to success: well, use the assigned readings as a starting point, but don't stop there. Those should give you ideas about things that require you to go back into the library and search for more literature to use. Choose the approach before you start writing. You need to plan things out. Search the literature. Once you've chosen your approach, go looking for more literature that's going to help support your argument. And finally, look ahead, because this class is totally cumulative. The paper you wrote for week 1 is going to be the basis of what you're going to write for week 2, what you're going to write for week 3, and how you write all the way up until the full literature review in week 8. So don't throw things away, keep them, and plan to build upon those, but know where you're going with